Hello and welcome to Stillness Unfolded. It's so wonderful to have you here with us today. If you're new to the channel, thank you for joining, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. In today's video, we're diving deep into the secret to finding lasting happiness. Many of us spend our lives chasing happiness through external accomplishments, relationships, and material possessions, but what if I told you the true key to happiness has always been within you? We'll explore how to cultivate joy from within through the powerful practices of mindfulness, gratitude, and self-compassion. You'll learn how releasing attachment to external things can unlock a more sustainable and fulfilling sense of happiness. You won't want to miss these profound insights, so be sure to stay until the end to get the full picture. Before we dive in, if you enjoy this video, please give it a like and hit subscribe. It helps us grow and bring more valuable content to you. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Share your thoughts, experiences, or how you're working to find happiness from within. Your feedback helps us create more high-quality videos that support your personal growth. Remember, this video is packed with useful information, so make sure you watch all the way through to capture everything. Now, let's get started on this transformative journey toward lasting happiness. Part 1: The reality of spouses and the importance of self-reliance. You may find comfort in the thought that, after spending a lifetime with your spouse, they will be by your side until the very end. Indeed, such a relationship provides a deep sense of stability and connection. The memories you've built, the children you've raised, and the countless joys and challenges you've weathered together create a profound bond. It's natural to imagine that no matter what, you will always have someone to lean on. This sense of security is something many of us hold onto dearly, as it gives us the peace of mind that we're not alone. But, as comforting as that thought may be, the reality is that time moves relentlessly, indifferent to our desires and plans. Life, as it always does, takes unexpected turns, and that reassuring idea of always having your spouse by your side begins to feel fragile in the face of the inevitable. While some couples are fortunate enough to grow old together, passing away peacefully in each other's arms, the truth is that most will not experience that perfect end. One partner will inevitably leave first, and for the other, it is an overwhelming and often unanticipated reality. Imagine waking up in an empty house. The familiar sounds, once shared with a loved one, are now gone. The daily rhythm that once anchored your life together becomes a quiet void. You are left to navigate the world alone, finding your way through each day without the person who once held your hand during every storm and every moment of joy. I recall meeting Margaret, a woman who had spent over 50 years with her husband. They were inseparable. Their lives, in many ways, had been one and the same. They built a shared world where every decision was mutual, every hardship was faced together, and every joy was more meaningful because they experienced it side by side. However, when her husband passed away, Margaret found herself in a profound state of loss. She had invested so much of her identity into being his partner that, without him, she struggled to remember who she was. In those first moments of silence, she realized she had neglected herself in the process of building a life around him. She had no hobbies, no independent friendships, and no sense of self outside of being his wife. Her world, once shared, became a painful reminder of how easy it is to lose touch with your own essence when you pour all your energy into another person. Margaret's story is a sobering reminder of the importance of retaining your individuality, even in the closest relationships. Love is beautiful, but it cannot be the sole foundation upon which you build your identity. This is where Buddhist teachings on non-attachment come in. In Buddhist philosophy, attachment, whether to a person, an object, or even an idea, is a root cause of suffering. Attachment leads to dependency, and dependency, in turn, leaves us vulnerable to sorrow and loss. It is natural to love deeply, to build lives with others, but we must be careful not to lose ourselves in the process. The Buddha taught that true peace and happiness come from within, not from another person's presence or absence. Non-attachment does not mean rejecting love, rather, it means understanding that your happiness and sense of peace are not dependent on anyone else. It means that, regardless of external circumstances, you can maintain a deep sense of inner calm. This practice of non-attachment allows you to love fully while remaining grounded in your own sense of self, independent of the people around you. Nurturing your own passions, hobbies, and sense of self is essential for a fulfilling life. We must learn to cultivate a relationship with ourselves that is separate from the roles we play in the lives of others, whether as a spouse, a parent, or a friend. Even in the context of a loving and deep marriage, it's important to remember that you, as an individual, have your own path. Just as you share your life with your partner, you must also carve out a space for yourself, a place where you can grow, learn, and evolve independently. This is not only essential for your personal fulfillment but also strengthens the relationship itself. When each person nurtures their own well-being, the relationship can thrive from a place of mutual respect and understanding. By cultivating your inner life, passions, and personal growth, you create a strong foundation for your emotional well-being. If the day ever comes when you find yourself without your spouse, you will not be left feeling lost. Instead, you will be able to face that time with strength and resilience, knowing that you have already developed an inner peace that does not depend on anyone else. You will find that you are enough, as you are, with or without anyone else by your side. Your relationship with yourself is the most important one you will ever have, and by nurturing it, you build the emotional fortitude needed to face whatever life brings. Part 2: The Role of Children and the Reality of Their Independence. Now, you might turn to your children for comfort. Surely, they will always be there for you, right? After all, you raised them, sacrificed for them, and stood by their side through every challenge. You've dedicated so much of your time, your energy, and your heart to their well-being. Naturally, as they become adults, you might expect that they will, in turn, offer you the same level of care and attention. They are, after all, your children. But here's an uncomfortable truth: as much as your children may love you, they too have their own lives to live. The moment they become adults, their priorities inevitably shift. They get married, pursue careers, and start their own families. While you may have been the center of their world when they were children, the dynamic changes once they establish their independence. The shift often happens gradually, so much so that we might not immediately notice it. But the changes are real, and they can be deeply felt. I remember a mother named Linda, who had raised 3 children with love and devotion. She attended every school event, guided them through difficult times, and gave them the foundation they needed to flourish in the world. But as time went on, Her children moved forward with their own lives. Her eldest daughter moved across the country for work. Her son got married, had children, and became immersed in his own family responsibilities. Her youngest, who once couldn't wait to spend time with her, now struggled to balance her own career and family commitments. Linda shared with me one day, "I don't blame them. I know they're busy, but I never imagined I'd feel so forgotten." This is a painful yet essential realization. No matter how much we love our children, their love and presence will not always be as constant in our lives. As they grow older, they face their own responsibilities and commitments, and while they may still love you deeply, they simply cannot always be there in the same way they once were. The love they offer will remain, but it may not be as frequent or as available as it was when they were dependent on you. It's not a lack of love, but a natural consequence of their own growth and independence. Buddhism teaches us that life is a constant flow of change, and the impermanence of relationships is a key aspect of our human experience. Attachment to others, especially to those we love, can lead to suffering, particularly when we hold on to the expectation that they will always be available in the same way. While it's natural to want to feel supported and loved by our children, we must be mindful not to place the full weight of our emotional fulfillment on them alone. The Buddhist teachings remind us that attachment to fixed outcomes or expectations is a source of suffering. The key is to embrace change, to accept that nothing in life stays the same, and to recognize that our happiness and emotional well-being should not depend solely on others. Instead, Buddhism encourages us to cultivate a fulfilling life of our own. This doesn't mean abandoning our relationships or stopping caring for our loved ones. It means recognizing that we are responsible for our own happiness. By developing our own passions, nurturing our personal interests, and cultivating friendships outside of our immediate family, we become less reliant on the presence of others for our emotional fulfillment. This approach allows us to grow emotionally strong and resilient, preparing us for life's inevitable changes. We can still love our children deeply and cherish the time we spend with them, but we also create a life in which we find joy and meaning independent of them. Just as we have cared for our children and watched them grow into independent individuals, we must do the same for ourselves. It is a natural part of life to experience shifts in the relationships we have with those we love. By embracing these changes and focusing on nurturing our own inner growth, we free ourselves from dependency. We can find peace knowing that our happiness does not come from others, it comes from within. Even if our children's physical presence isn't as frequent, the love and care we give ourselves will always remain constant, allowing us to face life's transitions with grace and confidence. Part 3: Friendships and their fleeting nature. Friendships are another area where we face the reality of impermanence. In our youth, friendships often feel like an unbreakable bond. We share countless memories, laughter, and support, believing that these connections will last forever. Friends become a core part of our identity, and the joy of their presence feels constant. I remember the warmth of summer afternoons spent at the lake with Barbara, laughing until we couldn't breathe. We would talk for hours, sometimes about nothing at all, but always feeling deeply connected. We believed that no matter where life took us, we would continue to be side by side, growing old together, reminiscing about the good old days, and creating new memories. But as we age, the landscape of our friendships begins to shift. People move away, get caught up in their own lives, and start their own families. Friendships that once felt unbreakable can start to fade as priorities change. Sometimes, these changes are subtle, and we don't fully grasp their impact until we find ourselves with fewer people around to share our stories, joys, and sorrows. The circle of close companions becomes smaller, and the people we once spent endless hours with may become mere memories. These changes can be painful, even though they are natural parts of life. I remember Barbara vividly. For over 30 years, we were inseparable. We traveled together, shared our hopes and dreams, and supported each other through thick and thin. We believed that as we grew older, we would still be laughing together, finding joy in the simple things, and continuing our journey side by side. But life, as it often does, had other plans. Barbara fell ill suddenly, and in what felt like an instant, she was gone. The loss was profound, and the silence that followed was deafening. I remember walking through her house after the funeral, feeling the weight of her absence, as though a part of me had been ripped away. I realized how much of my happiness had been intertwined with her presence, and how quickly that bond could be severed. The absence was not just physical, it was the loss of a part of my life, a part of myself. This experience deeply brought home the Buddhist concept of impermanence, one of the core truths of life. Relationships, friendships, and even our own lives are temporary. In Buddhism, we are taught to embrace this reality, not with sadness or fear, but with acceptance and peace. The Buddha's teachings remind us that attachment to anything, whether it's people, possessions, or outcomes, leads to suffering. When we place our emotional fulfillment solely in the hands of others, we open ourselves to pain when they change, leave, or pass away. It's not just the people around us who are impermanent, everything is in a constant state of flux. Instead of relying on others for our happiness, Buddhism encourages us to cultivate contentment within ourselves. A practice like mindfulness meditation can be incredibly helpful for this. One simple mindfulness exercise is to sit quietly, close your eyes, and focus on your breath, paying attention to the rise and fall of your chest with each inhale and exhale. This simple practice helps us reconnect with the present moment and release the clinging to past relationships or future expectations. It allows us to be fully present, appreciating the connections we have without depending on them for our emotional well-being. Buddhism teaches that by practicing mindfulness, we can cultivate a sense of peace within ourselves, one that does not depend on the presence or absence of others. This doesn't mean we should reject love and connection, rather, it means we should learn to enjoy those connections without clinging to them. We should cherish our friends, our loved ones, and the time we have with them, but we should also learn to accept that nothing lasts forever. When we let go of the expectation that our happiness depends on others, we can experience those relationships without the fear of losing them. I encourage you to take a moment today to reflect on the friendships that have shaped your life. Have any of them changed or faded over time? How did you cope with those changes? Perhaps you could reach out to a friend you haven't spoken to in a while, appreciating the time you have together in the present moment. Sharing your thoughts in the comments below could help create a sense of community as we all reflect on the impermanence of our relationships and embrace the wisdom it brings. By embracing the impermanence of relationships, we can find peace, knowing that while we may lose people, the love and memories we shared with them will always remain within us. In the end, the fleeting nature of friendships doesn't diminish their value. Instead, it teaches us to appreciate the present moment and to cherish the time we have. It also strengthens our relationship with ourselves, as we learn to face the inevitable changes in life with grace and acceptance, knowing that true peace comes from within. Part 4. Embracing Solitude and the Gift of Self-Reflection. Solitude is often feared and mistaken for loneliness. Many of us feel uncomfortable in silence, thinking it is a sign of being abandoned or forgotten. I too once felt that way. I remember a period in my life when I was facing a major transition, and the silence around me felt suffocating. The solitude felt like a heavy weight, and I found myself avoiding it at all costs. I filled my time with distractions, work, social media, and activities that kept my mind busy, but never truly at peace. I was terrified of being alone with my thoughts, afraid that facing my own emotions and inner world would be overwhelming. But as time passed, I started to embrace solitude, slowly at first. I began to see it not as isolation, but as an opportunity for growth. I took long walks in nature, without my phone or any distractions, just listening to the sound of my feet on the earth and the birds in the trees. At first, it was uncomfortable. My mind raced with thoughts, worries, and distractions. But over time, the silence started to feel less like an enemy and more like an ally. I began to hear my own thoughts clearly, without the noise of the outside world to drown them out. And in that space, I started to connect with myself in a way I had never done before. I realized that solitude wasn't a punishment, it was a gift, a chance to reflect, grow, and discover who I truly was beyond the roles I played in the world. As a practitioner of Buddhism, I can tell you that true peace arises in solitude. Solitude is not about being isolated or disconnected from the world. It's about being comfortable with your own presence, free from the distractions that keep you from seeing yourself clearly. Buddhism teaches us that only when we stop looking outside of ourselves for fulfillment can we begin to find lasting peace within. The Buddha spent years in solitude, meditating and seeking enlightenment. In that silence, he found clarity, understanding, and wisdom. And like the Buddha, we can also find peace in moments of stillness, even when the world is moving at a rapid pace. Many people fear solitude because it brings up emotions or thoughts they've been avoiding. It can be uncomfortable to be alone with ourselves. But this discomfort is not something to shy away from, it's an opportunity to face what lies beneath the surface and find peace with it. Emotions like fear, sadness, or regret may arise, and while they can feel overwhelming, they are temporary. They are not permanent aspects of who we are, they are just passing thoughts and feelings. Through mindfulness and meditation, we can learn to observe them without getting caught up in them. To help embrace solitude, I encourage you to incorporate simple Buddhist practices into your daily life. One powerful practice is walking meditation, where you bring mindfulness to each step. This helps you stay present and grounded when your mind wants to wander. Another practice is loving kindness meditation, metta, where you send thoughts of compassion and goodwill to yourself and others. These practices help cultivate peace within and allow you to connect with your true nature in a gentle and non-judgmental way. You may feel that solitude is a form of retreat, but it is not about withdrawing from the world. It is about reconnecting with yourself so that you can engage more fully with the world. Meditation is a great tool to help you embrace solitude. It allows you to quiet the mind and tune into the present moment. By focusing on your breath, you can bring yourself back to the here and now, letting go of the constant flow of thoughts that often cloud our minds. As you practice meditation, you'll become more aware of your inner landscape, your emotions, desires, and fears, and learn to approach them with equanimity. With time, you'll start to understand that these thoughts and feelings are transient, just like everything else in life. You can choose not to be overwhelmed by them. In moments of solitude, you may also find clarity about your relationships with others. It helps you gain perspective on how you interact with the world, reminding you that your happiness does not depend on external circumstances or the presence of others. We often look to people and external factors for validation, but in solitude, we realize that we are complete as we are. Our true essence does not depend on anyone or anything outside of ourselves. The more we embrace solitude, the more we can offer our love and kindness to others without expecting anything in return. Take a moment right now to close your eyes and breathe deeply. Notice how your body feels in this quiet space. Allow yourself to simply be present with your breath. Reflect on how you can incorporate moments of solitude into your daily life. What might those moments look like for you? Perhaps a quiet walk in nature, or 5 minutes of stillness before starting your day. Give yourself permission to experience this peace. Solitude may feel like an escape, but it's also an impermanent state, just like everything else in life. It's not about isolating ourselves from the world, it's about embracing moments of stillness before we return to the rhythm of life. Just as all things pass, our moments of solitude are fleeting. So, let's embrace them fully while we can. The deeper we understand ourselves, the more capable we are of giving love and kindness to others. Solitude is a gift. It gives us the clarity and strength to face life's challenges with grace, knowing that we carry within us all the resources we need to navigate the world. Part 5. Finding Joy Within. Happiness is often seen as something external, something that others give to us or that comes from achieving success or acquiring material possessions. Many of us believe that once we achieve a certain goal, whether it's getting the promotion, buying a new car, or entering a perfect relationship, happiness will naturally follow. But I remember a time in my own life when I felt that way, always striving for the next thing, thinking that happiness was just one more achievement away. I vividly remember a moment after I received my dream job offer. I thought it would bring the fulfillment I had been chasing for years. But after the excitement wore off, I felt hollow inside. I found myself wondering, is this really all there is? I realized that despite reaching what I thought would bring me happiness, I still felt empty. It was only after weeks of reflection that I realized my happiness had been tied to an outcome rather than to a state of mind. It became clear to me that happiness is not something that can be found outside of us. It's not dependent on circumstances, people, or achievements. It is a state of mind, a quality of heart that we must consciously cultivate within ourselves. The Buddhist teachings on attachment shed light on this truth. He taught that suffering arises from our attachment to people, things, and outcomes. When we cling to external sources of happiness, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The moment we let go of these attachments, we free ourselves from suffering and discover true happiness, one that isn't dependent on the ever-changing circumstances of life. Cultivating inner joy requires mindfulness, gratitude, and self-compassion. These practices help us focus on the present moment and find contentment right here, right now, rather than constantly chasing after something external. Take time each day to reflect on the simple pleasures in life: the warmth of the sun on your face, the taste of your favorite meal, the sound of laughter shared with friends. These moments, often overlooked, are the foundation of true happiness. When we allow ourselves to savor the present, we begin to see that happiness isn't a distant goal to be achieved, but a state of being that we can nurture within ourselves. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in each moment. I remember a time when I started practicing mindfulness during my daily walks. At first, it was challenging to quiet my racing thoughts, but as I focused on the feeling of my feet touching the earth and the rhythm of my breath, I began to experience life more deeply. It wasn't just about walking, it was about being in that moment, fully aware of my surroundings. The same principle applies to any task, whether you're eating, talking, or working. When you practice mindfulness, you start to experience life in a fuller, richer way. You connect with the present moment, and in that connection, joy arises. Gratitude is another powerful tool for cultivating inner joy. It shifts our focus away from what we lack and redirects it toward what we already have. I try to practice gratitude daily by writing down 3 things I'm thankful for. They don't need to be grand. Perhaps it's the warmth of a good cup of tea or a kind word from a friend. Over time, I've realized that when I practice gratitude, I'm training my mind to notice the good in my life, and this awareness fosters a deeper sense of contentment. When we're constantly focused on what's missing or what we want to achieve next, we miss the beauty and abundance already present in our lives. Self-compassion is also crucial in finding joy within. It means treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a dear friend. How often do we criticize ourselves when we make mistakes, or when we fall short of our expectations? I used to be very hard on myself, always striving for perfection and never allowing myself to rest. But through practicing self-compassion, I learned to embrace my imperfections and love myself unconditionally. It's easy to seek validation from others, but when we learn to validate ourselves, we free ourselves from the need to rely on others for our happiness. Now, I encourage you to take a moment and reflect. When was the last time you practiced gratitude? How did it make you feel? Take a few seconds and think about 3 things you are grateful for today. They could be simple things, like the joy of a quiet moment or the support of a friend. How can gratitude change your perception of the world? True happiness doesn't come from external achievements or possessions. It comes from the peace and contentment that arise when we accept ourselves fully and live in harmony with the present moment. When we let go of attachment to external outcomes and start nurturing our inner joy, we create an inner wellspring that sustains us through life's challenges. It's a practice one that requires mindfulness, gratitude, and self-compassion, but over time, it transforms the way we experience the world and our relationships with others. This kind of happiness is lasting and unconditional, because it comes from within. As we wrap up today's video, I hope you've gained valuable insights into how you can cultivate lasting happiness within yourself. Remember, Happiness isn't something that can be found outside, it's a state of being that you create through mindfulness, gratitude, and self-compassion. So, take a moment today to reflect. How can you start nurturing your inner joy? How can you embrace the present moment and let go of the need for external validation? If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more content that will help you on your journey to peace and happiness. Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you're embracing happiness within. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.